Some people say they love it when their kids were really, really little, when they're kind of like more helpless. And I gotta say, I like them when they're a little older, because that was so much work back then. That was, oh my gosh, some days it was like being hazed into a fraternity. There was one day, a 5-minute time period, my son was like a year old or something, I had to change a diaper while I'm being forced to watch the Wiggles, and chocolate milk is being spilled on my back. I thought, if I could depants myself right now, I'd be a Phi Belt, I bet. But they're good, they're great. I mean, I have no complaints I feel lucky. They're both really good kids. I think I've learned more from them than they've learned from me. Do you ever think that about your kids? You know, for example, anything that has technology related, I count on them. My son was a big gamer for a while, played Xbox like there was no, you know, and I didn't know much about it, but I thought, I don't want to be left out of his life, and I kind of learned some of the lingo that comes along with gaming. One day, actually, he said, "Dad, you have to help me. I've got the red ring of death on my Xbox." You know what that is, Chris? No, you don't know? Well, now I know it's a computer crash of sorts. Before I thought it was something you got from sitting on the toilet too long, but you send that one back for a pricey repair. So, I've learned a lot, though. I learned, don't buy your kids a pet until they're old enough to take care of themselves. Unless you wanted another pet. Unless you wanted a bearded dragon, as I mentioned earlier. I mean, we have a bearded dragon. There's nothing wrong with them, but it wasn't on my wish list. But if your kids can't drive yet, then you're the one going down to PetSmart every Wednesday, like I do, for a bag of crickets. You're right, and those employees there must be the most bored employees anywhere, because they say the same thing to me every Wednesday when I'm going through the line with my crickets. What you feeding? I hear it every time. What you feeding? A miniature donkey is what we're feeding. Thank you very much for your, what you feeding? We have a water buffalo in our basement. You think they'd be like, hey, they're liking these crickets. What you feeding? Mama's got a tapeworm. We went through pretty much a 12-year time period, I would say, my wife and I, where we didn't see one movie for grown-ups. Any other parents go through that, where you're just watching the Disney and everything the kids want to see, which some of that's good, but you can't count on every Disney movie to satisfy every age kid. You have to kind of pick and choose. Fortunately, I knew that before I even had my own kids. It was back in the 90s. I took my nephew, who was 5 at the time, to see Pocahontas. You guys ever see that one? Yeah. Nothing there for a 5-year-old to enjoy, though. Derek, my nephew, he could care less. He got all hopped up on gummy bears. He's running up and down the aisle. And I'm pretty focused, because Pocahontas, I mean, you got to admit, she's hot. All right, maybe I was having a slow summer, but there's still scenes I can't get out of my mind. If you saw it, did you see it, Chris? Did you see you've seen it, okay? Then you know what I'm talking about. There's one scene, Pocahontas was in the woods. She was sneaking up on something. She was on all fours, and I'm watching, and I'm thinking me likey, which I thought I said it to myself. I said it out loud. I was asked to leave the theater, and little nephew was all hopped up on gummy bears. His Uncle Dave evidently all hopped up on animated cleavage. But this,